When you're dealing with international money transfers, knowing the limits is just as important as understanding the fees and exchange rates. Wise, renowned for its transparency and cost-effectiveness, also has various transfer limits in place. These aren't arbitrary roadblocks. Rather, they're part of a robust system designed to protect customers, combat financial crime, and comply with diverse regulations across the globe. As a finance expert, let's explore what Wise's e-transfer limits really mean, how they work, and what you need to keep in mind, all in plain English. What are e-transfer limits in the context of Wise? The term e-transfer can sometimes be a bit broad. In some countries, like Canada, Interac e-transfer refers to a specific domestic electronic fund transfer system. However, when we talk about Wise and its limits, we're generally referring to the maximum amounts you can send or receive through their international money transfer service, regardless of the specific payment method you use to fund the transfer, e.g., bank transfer, debit card, credit card, or from your Wise balance. These limits are not fixed universally. They vary based on several crucial factors. The currency you're sending from. Different currencies have different regulations in their originating countries. The currency you're sending to. The destination country's regulations also play a significant role. Your payment method. How you fund your transfer, e.g., bank transfer, debit card, credit card, can have different limits. For instance, card payments generally have lower limits than bank transfers due to higher fraud risks. Your verification status. New users or those sending very large amounts may need to complete additional identity verification steps, which can sometimes impact initial limits. Personal versus business accounts. Wise offers both personal and business accounts often have higher transaction limits to accommodate larger commercial transactions. Country of residence/account registration. The specific laws and regulations in the country where your Wise account is registered will also influence your limits. Why do these limits exist? The existence of transfer limits, while sometimes inconvenient for large transactions, serves critical purposes. Security. Limits help to mitigate the risk of fraud and unauthorized transactions. If a fraudster gains access to your account, limits restrict the amount of money they can transfer out. Regulatory compliance. Financial institutions like Wise operate under strict anti-money laundering, AML, and counterterrorism financing, CTF, laws. These regulations often mandate limits on transaction sizes and require detailed reporting for larger transfers. This helps prevent illicit activities. Risk management. Setting limits allows Wise to manage its own financial risk exposure and maintain the stability of its payment network. Common Wise transfer limits explained. While specific numbers can fluctuate, here's a general overview of how Wise limits typically work, keeping in mind that you should always check the most up-to-date limits directly on the Wise app or website for your specific transfer scenario. Per transaction limits. This is the maximum amount you can send in a single transfer. For instance, you might be able to send up to $1 million via a local bank transfer or $6 million via wire transfer when paying from your USD Wise balance. For euro, you might be able to send up to 6 million euros. Daily, weekly, and monthly limits, less common for transfers, more for cards, while direct money transfers often have high per transaction limits. Some payment methods, particularly debit/credit cards, might have daily or weekly spending limits. For example, a debit/credit card payment might have a daily limit of around $2,000 USD and a weekly limit of $8,000 USD. Annual limits. In certain regions or for specific currencies, there might be yearly limits on the total amount you can send. For example, some U.S. personal accounts with certain routing numbers might have a yearly sending limit. Receiving limits. For most currencies, there's generally no limit on how much you can receive into your Wise balance. However, there can be exceptions for specific currencies or payment methods, e.g., USD wire transfers might have different receiving limits for personal versus business accounts. Wise debit card limits. The Wise debit card has its own set of limits for spending and ATM withdrawals, which can be adjusted within the Wise app up to a maximum. These typically include limits per transaction, daily limits, and monthly limits for various spending categories, e.g., chip and PIN, online purchases, ATM withdrawals,